Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War version 6.5 patch of the Dragon's Path. So this is a brand new patch that just came out last night. Of course, we covered it on stream, read through the entire patch notes and all that. If you want to see the video or see the full patch notes, it's in the description below if you want to go and check that out. So as far as this update, it was primarily a big change to how dungeons work. Still rather similar, but a lot more loot that we can end up overall getting from it. So first, the actual dungeon page. So on this dungeon page, there is now 6 options here instead of 3. 3 of these will still be the pretty standard battles that you're kind of used to. 2 of them will end up being traps, and 1 of them will end up being a boon. So the 3 normal battles, they basically give about the same loot as before. However, as you go lower or higher in levels, by going lower in the dungeon, you'll end up getting additional loot. It's not too much additional loot, but it is slightly more than what you would be getting otherwise. Additionally, there are 2 traps. You want to avoid these at all costs. Unfortunately, it is purely luck-based if you avoid them or not avoid them, so nothing much you could do there. And the third is a boon. So this boon can do quite a few things. It can end up giving you extra resources. It can end up making your stairs go down so that you can get a higher level, which caps at level 20, which is what you want to try to get to. And it also has a few other benefits that you can end up getting. But primarily what you want to try to do is find and battle, specifically, the 3 actual battle rooms before you hit a trap. If you end up doing this, you'll end up getting a new resource called Dragonite. Every single day you can buy 60 Dragonite for 300 gems, coming out to a 5 gem per Dragonite cost. There are also some other offers here now. The only one of which, of the newer ones, is kind of worth it as well, other than the Dragonite also being the Cursed Runes. I wouldn't advise spamming this every day, but it's a nice little bit if you need to get some in a pinch. However, the Dragonite's the main thing that you want to be prioritizing, so you can end up getting 60 of this per day at a 5 gem cost each, and this is used to get a lot of the resources. There are 2 ways that you can get Dragonite. The first is what we just showed. If we go to dungeon every single day, you can end up getting 60 of it for 300 gems. However, the other way that you do it is what I was mentioning here. If you do the 3 battles before you hit a single trap, if you can get lucky enough to find them, you'll end up getting some amount of Dragonite. This exact amount we don't know, and it probably increases based on your level, but people seem to be getting around 80-ish or so. So it's basically, you can look at it as like maybe 1.5 days of free Dragonite that you don't have to end up paying gems out for, which also progress you further towards the reward. So there are a lot of things that this Dragonite can be used for that are actually kind of useful. So first are the, actually let's go over the egg first. So first, there are the eggs. Unfortunately, these are a little bit of a luck-based system. They are 500 Dragonite each, which ends up coming out to a cost of 2,500 gems each, which comes out to a day amount of 8 days, assuming you don't get any perfect dungeons, or 7 if you do get a perfect dungeon. And basically, it is 6 new mythics that are specifically boss troops, oddly enough. So these are 6 new bosses, technically 7 because there's another one once we get all the way through absolutely everything. So all of these have a very similar premise. They all have a 55% score reduction, they have a storm into themselves, and they have a magic gain based on their color. However, they also have a pretty interesting mechanic here. They're kind of standard full AoE as you'd kind of expect from a dragon-like troop, as of course they're all dragons. That's the Dragon's Path, of course. But it also gets to convert a bunch of a color, of their corresponding color, to giant color versions of it. To my understanding how these work, even though I don't believe anyone actually has a mechanic yet, but basically what these do is they're basically like Doom Skulls, but for colors. So they count as +5 towards whatever color it is, and then explodes everything around them. So how a Doom Skull does 5 additional skull damage, and then explodes for mana accumulation, everything around it. These are the same, except instead of doing 5 additional damage, it gives you 5 of that corresponding color. So this guy does blue, so it ends up giving you blue, the red one does red, so on and so forth. And this is even seen through the actual mythic itself, or, the very last one, because it actually quite literally creates Doom Skulls, which is the equivalence of all these other dragons mechanic, except specifically for colors. These are very, very strong mechanics, not necessarily on them, oddly enough, but more so on the weapons. So these weapons actually create these gems. So this first one here that requires a few of them, it creates 1 blue giant gem for every blue enemy, then deals a bunch of damage to all blue enemies and frees them. This one ends up doing a very similar mechanic, but for a red. However, the very interesting thing here is the actual mythic weapon here. This is the 3rd mythic weapon now, because we have Dawnbringer, Dustbringer, and now the Diamond Ring of Fire and Ice. So this actually has potential to be a very meta weapon. It's a 20 mana cost, green, blue, red, and the fact that it uses blue and red is extremely relevant based on this. Ends up dealing damage to all enemies, freezes and burns all enemies, so to a degree, a Zugoth, if you're using like a triple damage burning with it, though you're probably going to use half mana start a lot of times. And then it creates 3 blue giant gems and 3 red giant gems, meaning if these end up getting alignment, if you even just match a combo of these, you're pretty much gaining full mana. If you land 3 of these, you're definitely gaining full mana, but even 2 of them have a really high chance that you get all of your mana back. And while it's not a huge amount of gem spawn, 6 total with a 3/3, if they even land a single time on the board, you're going to get so much mana accumulation to a degree where you might just be able to cast this, then cast it again and again and again. It has a lot of potential to be really, really, really solid. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. If you're wondering how much Dragonite you'll end up needing for it, it is a lot. So for the weapons, we'll end up needing 1,000, 500, 500, bringing out to a total of 2,000 just for the weapons. However, and that comes out to a 10,000 gem cost. However, of course, to be able to craft these, you need the 6 dragons. These 6 dragons are pulled from a completely luck-based egg here, where it's 500 each. So at the absolute lowest, which is exceedingly unlikely, but technically possible, you will end up spending 3,000 Dragonite, which is 15,000 gems, which means with that's going to be a total of 25,000. Then if you end up taking the other one here, we have another 5,000 here, another 1,000 Dragonite for the 5,000 cost, which means the absolute bare minimum to get everything is 30,000. Realistically, you can expect to almost double that, or at least 50% more than that, because you're going to be getting some for perfect dungeons. You're going to be getting some for free, so you're going to be getting progress there. But realistically, it's going to cost anywhere from around a 30,000 to 60,000 gem cost. Of course, you could get luckier, you could get unluckier. By luckier, I mean you can get some free from the dungeons by getting perfect runs, or unluckier in that it takes you a lot of rolls, because you basically, the main RNG factor is it pulls a random one. It even has the same wording as the other one. You will receive one of the following rewards from this, and it says it right here for the other random ones. For if we check the summoning stones, it says the same thing. You will receive one of the following rewards from this, which means, yeah, they're completely random. So you will get duplicates. You could get like 5 blue, 2 1 1 1 1 or something, but you can get very, very unlucky. But hopefully the odds will be with you. But yeah, it's 30,000 gems at minimum, and can go upwards of 60,000 gems. Also keep in mind, at absolute minimum day-wise, it's going to be roughly a little over 3 months, so basically the end of this year. It is definitely possible to have all this by the end of the year. However, it is going to be a bit luck-based. Could end up taking anywheres from about 3.5 months to approximately 7-ish, depending on how the RNG goes. And of course, it can take even longer than that if you get super unlucky. Anyways, I don't believe I've gone over necessarily this troop yet. This, of course, is the main thing that you end up getting all the way at the end of all of this. It is the Diamantia. So this is pretty relevant in one very obvious way, and it is the first player-owned troop that you can actually keep that has 6 manas. Evolved Gorgolfa back in the day used to be summonable by the player, but never owned, and that was a 6 mana cost troop that was basically just Gorgolfa just with 6 mana, and you could summon it but not actually own it. However, this is the very first 6 mana troop that you can own. There are 2 weapons that are also 6 mana, though they're generally not used in the current state of the game because they're pretty underwhelming to the current meta and power creep overall. However, this thing is actually useful. So it ends up dealing, it's pretty similar to the other ones, it ends up dealing a bunch of damage to all enemies boosted by skulls, and converts 5 skulls to doom skulls, so basically the same mechanic as those other ones, just for skulls instead of color. And then there's a 10% chance for an extra turn, boosted by skulls. It is worth mentioning this does have a slightly higher boost ratio. The other ones have a 2 times boost ratio per their color, whereas this has a 3 times based on skulls. So it is a little bit easier to have color on the board than it is to have skulls. Of course, similar to them, they have a storm going into its color, which is bone, or skulls. It has the skull reduction as they have, and ends up getting a bunch of magic when all allies are matching for skulls, which is pretty good if this works when it's not in first slot. I'm actually not sure on that, but if it works kind of like how Zugoff does, which I assume it does, given that it's a boss rarity troop as well, hopefully you can end up triggering this even if it's in last slot or some other slot that isn't specifically first. But the main thing that's going to be really good about this is it's really spammable. You kind of just put it all the way in your last slot. Realistically, it's almost always going to be your 4th slot. You kind of just keep it there. It keeps going over and over and over again. You just keep casting it. If you have a bunch of excess mana accumulation from any team, doesn't even matter what kind of team it is. You don't even have to use it in a dragon team. You just use it in anything that has a lot of excess mana, and then boom, you just have something constantly getting value from that. And it's a great way to cover multiple gaps. Like, let's say you have a good combo of 3 troops, but they only use, like, what, 3, 4 colors maybe? Well, you can cover the other few colors by just simply using this troop. So it has a lot of potential to be really good, and is definitely the main thing that you're looking to eventually grind towards within this patch. Anyways, with all that out of the way, actually, there's one other thing I want to go in before we go do our dungeons. There are new offers now. It's the other kind of relevant thing. I didn't actually get any today, so I can't actually show any. However, there's now, like, a... you can now get a Nisha, oddly enough, a Nisha medal. I don't know how much that costs, but if it's under 1,250, I would say it's worth it. If it's 1,500 plus, I'm not sure if it will be or not. But if it's like 1,000, I'm buying it literally every single time I see it. They also added Anu's and the Epic one for free to play. If you because I believe that before they were only on the VIP one, but now you can get them free to play as well. They added those Forge Scrolls. Not sure what their cost is on if they're even worthwhile for the exchange rate. It might just be better to stock up when there's a Tower of Doom event. However, of course, these days, you know, there's almost never a Tower of Doom event. So if those are about, I would say 100 gems or less each, they would probably be okay. That's still a little bit pricey at 100 gems, but that's like anything above that, I would say, is probably not worth it compared to just getting like up to tier 6 during the actual events and stuff like that. And aside from that, I believe that was most of the ones of that. I feel like I'm forgetting one important one that they end up adding. Forge Scrolls, the medals, and the other thing. Yeah, that was all of them. Okay, I haven't actually seen any yet, but if depending on what their gem values are, they could or could not potentially be worth it, though some of them are probably a little bit rare. Anyways, let's go and actually go and do this dungeon now and see how we do. Of course, I already did one yesterday. If you already did your dungeon battles before the patch yesterday, you were not able to do it. It's why we have level 2 here instead of level 1. So we do get slightly more loot as the deeper you go. Of course, the harder they get, however, the more loot you get. So ideally here, we want to start taking rooms and not hit a single trap. How do we do that? Pure RNG. And we already hit a trap. Wonderful. Anyway, so now we do not get the extra Dragonite. If you don't hit any traps and you take all 3 of the battles, you will get some amount of Dragonite. Otherwise, you'll just end up hitting a trap here. Anyways, we have ended up finding a weakness trap. This debuffs all allies by 20% of all their stats. So now we have 20% less stats on all of our allies. So now we'll take this one, and we have found our first battle. Since we have already found a trap, we can start clicking through them. Normally, you wouldn't want to click through them all immediately, because you want to find your 3 battles and then immediately take them if you happen to not hit any traps. But since we hit a traps, let's go click each one of these individually and then go do our battles. So we've found 2 of our battles so far, 1 of the traps. We have now found the second... Wait, is this a trap? You have found the Altar of War. Grant Enrage to all allies. No, this is actually the boon. So there are multiple different boons that are basically positive effects, basically inverse trap. These do not count against your perfect streak for getting Dragonite. Only a trap will end up disabling your extra Dragonite for a day. However, what these end up doing is a wide variety of things. They can give you more loot, they can end up giving you buffs, but most importantly, which I got yesterday, however not today, you can end up getting stairs downwards. Stairs downwards will increase your level if you take them, which you should always take until you reach level 20, which case you can't go any further. But you should always keep taking them, as the further you go down, while the battles will be slightly harder. Not sure exactly how hard they are at level 20, but I would assume like about what Explore is, probably like Deep Delve kind of stuff. So if you're already taking out those, they shouldn't be any issue. Plus there's only 3, so they go down pretty quick, with only 4 trips in each, obviously. But anyways, you want to get to level 20 by descending the stairs, but it's completely RNG if you get to these stairs. As far as how long you would take, I'm pretty sure it'd probably take like a month or 2, realistically, to get down 20 floors, as you'd have to find 19 stairs. Also, some of the stairs can go up, never take the upstairs, only take the downstairs. But yeah, we got an enraged one, which isn't really too useful to us. Here we end up triggering a second trap. Looks like it probably causes burning on us. If we flick burn on all allies at the start of battle. Which honestly, burn and poison, particularly poison, or if there's a bleed one, not sure if there's a bleed one, can actually be helpful, particularly poison and bleed, because anything that has a trait that triggers whenever you take HP damage would actually gain a bit of a benefit from that. And here we have our final battle. So of course we have the standard rooms that we've always kind of known and loved that we have just sticking around here. Nothing really changed here other than their stats being slightly higher as you go deeper into the floors. However, there is now a new one that ends up appearing here that ends up utilizing the dragon. A new dragon that ended up coming into the game. Anyways, let's go and take these out. So I believe these are still within standard Phoenicia range. So I'm just going to use a Phoenicia for now. Of course, once we start getting deeper, you might have to use, or definitely will have to use, different teams than what you're kind of used to for dungeon fights. So since we have triggered a trap, specifically 2 of them, we will not end up getting any of the Dragonite from doing a perfect run. Keep in mind, there are 2 achievements, one for doing a perfect run and one for doing the egg. To do an egg, you would need to do the... get all the Dragonite to end up crafting one, which will end up taking 8 days, and what Dragonite is that again? 500, so that's 2,500 gems to end up getting your first egg there for that achievement. And then you also get one for getting a perfect dungeon run. So with a perfect dungeon run, that is getting your 3 rooms and taking them out before you find a trap, which of course we did not end up doing here, as we pretty much immediately, or literally immediately, ended up finding ourselves a trap there, which is kind of unfortunate. I feel like, I'm not sure what the actual odds are if you just keep taking the same 3 rooms every single time. I would assume it's around 1 in 10-ish? I have no clue, to be honest in that regard. But I'm pretty sure a few times per month you'll probably hit a perfect run. though it is pretty luck-based on if it will or will not happen, because you have no way of knowing where the traps are. Just kind of take the same threads, keep taking the top 3 each time, and just hope it's the correct one. Technically, we got 66% of it today, but one of the traps still got in the way. But of course, loot overall, unless you get the Dragonites, luck, this is basically the same as always. Just ticked up slightly higher based on the level of how deep you've gotten in. I believe it's roughly about 20% or so extra loot overall they end up getting by going a little bit deeper. However, you can get the diamond amounts to be higher as well. We currently haven't gotten ours higher, but I believe every 10 floors ends up going up by 1. So that would end up being an additional, what, 6 diamonds per day, which can definitely add up. 6 diamonds per day ends up coming out to, what is that then? 42 diamonds per week. So it might not seem like a lot, but it definitely adds up over time. And yeah, and then of course we have all this here. So of course you always want to make sure, assuming you want to go for full completionist, to end up getting your Dragonite per day. Realistically, this is how you're going to be getting a good majority of it. And 60 at a time, we'll just keep filling it up every single day. And that will require 300 gems. So one way to kind of calculate out what you need to do for that is of course what your tribute is. So let's say, for example, you're getting a tribute of 20. Since it costs 300 gems, you would end up needing, what is that then, 15 tributes per day if you have a tribute of 20 in order to cover the Dragonite cost to be able to get Dragonite every single day. So do be mindful of that if you want to calculate out how much gems you need from tribute or any other method within the game, like if you do treasure hunt or something else, how many gems you'll end up needing per day through the farming methods to be able to get yourself the Dragonite without actually hurting your gem stack. And of course, there are curse runes here. Overall, I would not spam the curse runes if you're still trying to get some things for Completionist of the 6.1 patch, I believe it was, when they reforged the Reforge, or when they redid the Reforge last December, so almost a year ago at this point. But this makes it a lot easier to complete that, so if you still have anything you need to get from those unique drops, most of them are pretty underwhelming. However, if you do need curse runes, it's not a bad offer. It's just not one I would spam every single day. And speaking about things, I would definitely not advise spamming every single day. 15 gems for 100 diamonds, definitely not worth it. If you want extra diamonds, just do the 50 gem thing every single day. There's really no point in end up doing it on here. Also, I believe one of the console versions has this one for free as well. So it's better just to do these two than to ever bother touching that. Oh, don't do that one though if it's money though. But if you're on a platform where that is gems, just doing this and the other gem one, if it happens to be on your platform, are better. And you should never really touch the 15 diamonds here. It reminds me of those other tasks. So I actually have one of those today where it's like a ridiculously high cost for a small amount of diamonds. No, it's not there, but you've seen it before on the offers many times before. It's not really worth going for. But anyways, guys, that's a full rundown on version 6.5. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. But yeah, it's going to be roughly like 30 to 60,000 gems over the next several months. So definitely a pretty steep gem cost. They're definitely trying to gem sink a little bit. However, we are getting some pretty good options. We're getting our first ever 6-color troop in the entire game. We're getting ourselves a really good weapon that has a lot of potential to just spam out damage. And overall, I really love the new options that we're going to be getting. And as we get some of these dragons, we'll probably mess around with them too. So once we get our first dragon, we'll kind of cover it a little bit and kind of go from there. Obviously, it'll be quite a while, literal months, until we end up getting everything. But as we start getting some of the stuff rolling in, we will definitely cover it. And you'll probably see me using this a lot next year in 2023. As there's a lot of things you could end up doing this with various farming teams, just even poking. Like if you're doing a spam AoE team, any excess mana that you're not already using, this is going straight into a nice hefty damage poke. So very curious to see how this and the mythic weapon will end up functioning overall, but be interesting to see. Anyways, guys, any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. All the patch notes and the stream that we did earlier, going over everything when it went live, is also in the description if you want to go catch that. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone, and best of luck with getting your dragon eggs.